Have you ever wondered why the seemingly invincible Soviet Union, a superpower that once challenged the world, suddenly crumbled into pieces? What led to its abrupt dissolution? For 7 decades, the Soviet Union was a formidable entity, a titan on the global stage. Yet, in a surprising twist of events, it collapsed. A multitude of factors contributed to this unforeseen downfall. Join us in this journey as we unravel the mystery behind the fall of the Soviet Union. Our journey begins with Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the Soviet Union, who took office in 1985. Gorbachev was a man of vision, eager to break the chains of the past and usher in a new era for the Soviet Union. He introduced 2 significant reforms: Glasnost, meaning openness, and Perestroika, meaning restructuring. Glasnost was a breath of fresh air, a policy that allowed enhanced freedom of speech, increased transparency, and a more open dialogue between the government and its people. Perestroika, on the other hand, was an attempt to overhaul the economic system, seeking to shift from a centrally planned economy to a mixed one, combining elements of both socialism and capitalism. Gorbachev's intention was to end the period of political stalemate and economic backslide that had plagued the Soviet Union. But little did Gorbachev know that these reforms would start a chain reaction leading to the downfall of the Soviet Union. Beneath the surface of the Soviet Union, internal stagnation and ethnic separatism were brewing. The Union was a patchwork of 15 top-level republics, each serving as a homeland for different ethnicities. While the Union was highly centralized in its early years, this centralization began to wane towards its final years. The internal stagnation, a result of a complex matrix of political and economic factors, was only adding fuel to the fire. Meanwhile, ethnic separatism was gaining momentum within these republics. The centralized system, once a symbol of the Union's might, was losing its grip. The calls for independence were growing louder, echoing in the halls of power, shaking the very foundations of the Union. The political crisis was looming, and several republics were already contemplating their departure. As the 1990s dawned, the cracks within the Soviet Union were becoming increasingly apparent. The stage was set for a cataclysmic change, a change that would forever alter the course of history. By late 1991, amid a catastrophic political crisis, the end of the Soviet Union was in sight. The once mighty federation was fracturing from within, its republics chafing under the strain of political stalemate and economic stagnation. The first to break away were the Russian, Belarusian, and Ukrainian SSRs. They boldly declared that the Soviet Union no longer existed, a statement that shook the world. This wasn't a mere protest or a call for reform. It was a declaration of independence, a disavowal of the old order. Within a short span of time, 8 more republics followed suit. One by one, they asserted their sovereignty, severing their ties with the Soviet Union. The federation was crumbling. The center could no longer hold. As the republics asserted their independence, the power at the center waned. On Christmas Day 1991, Mikhail Gorbachev, the last General Secretary of the Soviet Union, resigned. It was a symbolic moment, a clear sign that the end was near. The final blow came the following day. The Soviet Parliament, what was left of it, voted to dissolve the Union. It was a momentous decision, one that marked the end of an era. And thus, on December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union was formally dissolved, marking the end of an era. So, the seemingly unshakable Soviet Union had met its end, but what can we learn from its dissolution? A once formidable force, the Soviet Union's unraveling was marked by a series of complex events. The introduction of reforms by President Gorbachev was an attempt to reform the political and economic system, but it could not stop the period of political stalemate and economic backslide. The country grappled with internal stagnation and ethnic separatism, leading to a catastrophic political crisis. Despite being highly centralized, the Union was made up of 15 top-level republics, home to different ethnicities, many of which began to break away. In the end, Even the leaders of the Russian, Belarusian, and Ukrainian SSRs declared that the Soviet Union no longer existed. Gorbachev's resignation and the dissolution of the Union by the remaining parliament members marked the end of an era. The dissolution of the Soviet Union serves as a reminder that even the mightiest can fall. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Goodbye.